Hello and welcome back to the MLB DFS slate breakdown for Wednesday, September 25th. We are back. We got a 9-game slate tonight, which easily could be 8 games. The weather in Atlanta is less than desirable. They have a hurricane hitting that part of our country, and with that, there is absolutely the chance of postponement tonight. It really just depends on when those storms come through. There is a slight chance they could get it in today, but we got to watch weather to know for sure. Tomorrow, that game is probably off, and there is big-time MLB playoff situations with that series. So now, before we get into the slate, come join us at LineStar. $39.99 per month gets you access to everything we do. The props, the DFS, you get it all for one low price. Also, please like, comment, and subscribe to our videos. It helps us a ton. And also, if you're here just for this MLB show, make sure to check out the others. We got prop shows, other sport DFS shows. We got it all. Now, let's get into it. Now, I wanted to start off today by going over a little bit of the playoff scenario. In the AL, wild card is really what's still up for grabs. Detroit and KC have a 2-game lead on the playoffs. It is likely theirs. A lot would have to happen for Minnesota or Seattle to sneak in. They still can. They just got to play. Minnesota or Seattle pretty much has to go on a run and win out, with Detroit or KC stumbling a bit. Can it happen? Absolutely. Is it likely? No. Minnesota's lost 3 straight. Seattle's won 6 of 4, but KC has lost 3 of 7. So maybe they could slip out a little bit. Detroit Tigers, on the other hand, won 8 of the last 10, have won 3 straight, have been on fire. Now, if we go to the NL, my Padres clinched it last night. If you did not see it, ended with a triple play. They've won 5 straight, 9-1. They're going to the playoffs. Still have a slight chance to take out the Dodgers if they can complete this sweep. It very well could happen, but that's a tall task. Dodgers rarely get swept. Now, the interesting spot is we got Mets, Diamondbacks, and Braves all within 1 game, and there's 2 spots open. The Mets and the Braves are playing today, well, hopefully playing today. And then they play tomorrow. That game tomorrow is pretty much guaranteed to be a postponement. They're expecting like 9 inches of rain over the next 2 days in Atlanta. So what very well could happen is on like Monday, they got to play a doubleheader, and that could be for the wild card. So a lot of stuff to go on over the next week. Arizona is in must-win territory. There is absolutely the chance that they could fall out. They're playing the Giants now, then they play the Padres. Braves and Mets have a tough schedule too. It's going to be really fun to watch this all shake out. All right, now let's get to the stuff that matters for our slate today. So Chris Sale right now is the highest owned pitcher. This is going to change wildly throughout the day as more news comes out about this storm. Sale's in a great spot. By far the best pitcher on this slate. If the game plays, there is a big if. So I don't want to go too much into Sale as I'm doubtful this game is played, but they're going to try and do whatever they can to get this game played. Next, we got Cody Bradford, lefty, 8,800, 1.9x versus the A's. My big worry here is he has been way worse away. Almost 59% less fantasy points while away. However, if you look at the opponent team splits, Oakland hasn't been good versus lefties all year long. They can hit the ball hard versus a lefty, but their average, their WOBA, are less than desirable. Bradford's done well versus them, and we got a 24.4% combined K rate. I think it's an interesting spot for Bradford. However, I do worry big time about the fact that he's just way worse away, and we can see it through his game logs. He has only had one start this season away, and it happened to be in New York, that was worthy starting him in an away game. Now, it is a decent matchup where all of his away starts have pretty much been tough matchups. So I could see you making a case for wanting to play him, but at high ownership, I don't love it. Pitching is rough today, though. Next, we got Kevin Gausman, 8.6K, 1.9X. The Red Sox have fallen off big time, and Gausman's been dealing lately. 2.33 FIP over his last 5 starts, 23% K rate. Now, his data over the last 20 isn't Gausman-like. 4.04, 20% K rate. That K rate's way down. The FIP is way up. He's allowing more stolen bases than normal. He's walking more guys than normal. His K rate is way down. He hasn't been healthy all year. We knew he came into the year a little bit unhealthy, but he's worked himself through it, and over the last 5 games, been pitching really well. Now, my big worry here is he looked great versus Texas last week, but left after 58 pitches because his back tightened up. So if he's starting, I'm sure he's healthy and he's not having back issues, but there is a little bit of concern there. But he is in a very good spot, and I like Kevin Gausman. His price is right. I don't mind going here whatsoever, especially at slightly less ownership. Next, we got Zach Gallen versus the Giants. Giants haven't been hitting well. They can hit the ball hard versus righties, but that's about it. And we are in absolute must-win territory for Zach Gallen. Another thing, for Zach Gallen's career, he has been much better at home than away. He's at home. He's into must-win territory. I think he's going to come through with a solid game tonight, and I like him. Plus, we have him at a 28.9% combined K rate at 9K. That is a great spot. He's done well versus the Giants in the past, and the splits are in his favor. I am extremely interested by going with some Gallen today. Next, we got Jose Suarez. Suarez at 6K is super interesting to me. So last time he pitched, I talked about how he only went 55 pitches in his start before. That jumped all the way up to 96 last game. So they're okay with giving him the runway. He's in a great spot versus the White Sox, averaging 51% more fantasy points away, and 3.1 FIP over his last 5 starts, 4.09 over the last 20. The guy is not a bad pitcher at all. 6K in a great spot versus the White Sox, who are just rolling over. And I like Suarez today. He's too cheap. Makes a lot of sense to want to try and go to him. Next, we got Dylan Cease. Dude's a very, very good pitcher. Has very good upside, but he's in a tough spot versus the Dodgers. I don't love facing the Dodgers, but he can definitely get it done versus anybody in this league. He's done decently versus him. The issue is he just doesn't have the 30-point upside versus the Dodgers as he does other teams. It is likely the Dodgers are going to score a run or two. They do every game. So a spot where he goes 6 innings, has 12 Ks and no earned run, likely not happening. A spot where he goes 6 innings, 1 or 2 earned run, 6 to 8 Ks, very likely. So pitching isn't great on this slate, and that might be enough to get it done. We'll have to wait and see for sure, but pitching's rough today. And when it's like this, I don't mind counting on a low-owned stud pitcher. With that being said, you could also look at the other side of this matchup being Jack Flaherty. 3.6 FIP over the last 20, 29% K rate, very intriguing. He's fallen off a bit lately, but he's still a very solid pitcher, and I don't mind going to Flaherty versus the Padres. They lost last night. They're going to be hungry. Next, we got Nasty Nestor Cortez. He's going to get an MRI today. So with the fact that they still have him as the pitcher today, it's wild to me. I expect him to get pulled. The fact that if he's getting an MRI, he has some pain, there's just not much of a reason to push him out there. So I highly doubt he is going to end up pitching. I did hear also Cody Patet is in New York. So my guess is he becomes a pitcher, but who knows at this point. If Cortez is the guy for some reason, he's in a decent spot. I don't mind going here. He's done decently, or he's done well versus Baltimore in the past, and Baltimore versus lefties is not that great lately. So don't mind going here whatsoever. Next, Edward Cabrera, 6,200, 2.1x versus the Twins. Cabrera's been dealing lately 3.03 FIP, 25% K rate. StatCast data looks great. Opponent splits aren't very good. Cabrera is actually in a pretty solid spot here. Now, the opponent splits over the last 150 games are real ugly, but over the last 20, Minnesota's fallen off quite a bit. Don't love the Minnesota bats in this spot, and I think Cabrera is actually a little interesting. He carries upside. He's low owned. He's cheap. Think you can go to him. I wouldn't, use a ton of him, but a little bit is definitely interesting. Zach Eflin, 8K. Look, this is a fight for the division. If the Orioles want it, they're going to need to come and take it. And Eflin has been pitching well. Just don't like facing that New York Yankees offense. But I'd rather face the Yankees than the Dodgers, frankly. And but Eflin is nowhere near as good of a pitcher as Cease. Eflin's fine. Just his caliber of pitcher, I don't really like taking versus solid offenses. Last guy I really want to bring up is Brady Brazo. Only 3 starts in, 282 FIP, 291 over the last, 291 FIP over the last 5 starts, 20% K rate. Texas has been terrible, and 7.5K, I think you could do worse. He had a really good first outing versus Detroit, was decent versus the White Sox, and then got roughed up a little bit versus the Cubs in Wrigley. But back home, versus an offense that's not great, there is some potential for upside going super low owned. Now, everybody else I'm pretty much out on. I don't mind David Peterson, but I don't expect that game to play. And the splits, Braves are just crushing lefties, so it's a tough spot for him in that category. Now, getting over to FanDuel, highest owned pitcher over here is Jose Suarez, 5.9K, just super insanely cheap. The one worry with him is that he doesn't go 6 innings, and you can't get the quality start bonus. You could get the win bonus, but there is some upside in the K department. He's a solid pitcher in a great matchup. His upside is the only factor. If he doesn't get the quality start, how likely is it that he is going to be an optimal pitcher? I would say not very. You generally need 40 plus from a pitcher. And if he's not getting quality start, he's likely not getting 40. Chris Sale, I would love him if this game plays. Does it play? No idea. Right now we have it a 45% chance, but I mean, we're tracking a hurricane here, so there's always, a lot of stuff up in the air with weather, and now you add in that it's a hurricane, and just who knows what's going to happen. Zach Allen, 9.8K. Love the spot. Love the ownership. Don't mind going here whatsoever, as well as Kevin Gausman. Both these guys are lower owned. Now, I would not be surprised whatsoever if Gallen and Gausman end up being the highest owned because the Atlanta game doesn't play. And I still like them in that situation. Then you got Cody Bradford. He's a little expensive, but he's shown enough upside that I'm interested. I just don't like that he's averaging so much less while he is away. Cortez, once again, you got to worry. He's having an MRI today, so if he's having an MRI, his elbow obviously isn't 100%, so definitely watch for news there. Dylan Sleece and Jack Flaherty, same thing as on DraftKings. We don't have a great pitcher slate, and I would rather bet on the talent of these two guys being stud, number one pitchers in Major League, even in tough matchups, than go with Austin Gomber or, Mason Black or some of these other guys that just aren't that great and don't have a ton of upside. So if I'm going low owned, I'm probably going to one of them today. That's my favorite pivot. Let's get over to DraftKings, see what we got here for some stack attack. So our highest ceiling stacks are the Dodgers versus Dylan Cease. We've seen Dylan Cease get roughed up a little bit throughout the year. It can absolutely happen, and Dodgers are going very low owned. Makes some sense to me to want to go there. Now our highest owned stacks is St. Louis. Colorado needs to be here as well. Colorado has pretty much the same implied run total, and they're going under owned, so I love Colorado with St. Louis. Now our highest projected, we got Dodgers, just like it was yesterday. I don't love the spot for the Dodgers, but we have seen Cease get beat up in the past, and it can happen. On the other side, we've seen Flaherty get roughed up too, so I don't mind the Padres stacks. They'll go low owned as well. Now our highest value stacks, we got the Angels versus Davis Martin. Davis Martin, 4.28 FIP over his last 20. I don't mind going there. Or the White Sox versus Suarez, who isn't working very deep into games, and both of their bullpens aren't great. I don't love this spot, but as both offenses and both teams are just counting their days to Cancun. Giants versus Zach Gallen. I don't love that one, but it's popping up a little bit. And let's check our teams tab. We got St. Louis at 5.6, Colorado at 4.9, Arizona at 4.8. I love this spot for Arizona. Didn't talk about them much. But Mason Black, 5.5 FIP over the last 20, 4.7 over the last 5. The bullpen behind them is okay, not great. And then Minnesota versus Edward Cabrera. I have some interest here, but Minnesota just hasn't been hitting that well lately. So I have some concern there. I think Toronto's in a very interesting spot versus Fitz and a bullpen behind him that isn't great. Then we got Dodgers at 4.3, Yankees at 4.3, Braves at 4.2 if that game plays, and then White Sox and Angels. The pivots that I think are interesting, or the leverage stacks, Dodgers, Boston. If Gosman gets roughed up, it's a poor bullpen behind him. He's allowing a lot of hard hits, a lot of high average exit velocity. It's at least interesting if you want to get different. And then Baltimore, it's likely not going to be Nestor Cortez, so that may be an interesting spot. I would definitely just pay attention as we get a little bit closer to lock on that one. All right, guys, have a good one. I don't think we will be back tomorrow, as there's only 4 games in the late slate, and that Braves-Mets game is likely going to be washed out. So probably no show tomorrow, but we will be back Friday for sure for the last show of the 2024 MLB season. It's been fun. Go Padres. We'll see you guys later. Peace.